As you may or may not remember, my name is Emily Waddell, and my pronouns are she, her, hers. I work in the Dean of the Ingram Commons office, so we're really excited to have our next week with our fabulous new panelists. So I'm going to let each of you go down the line. If you could, just introduce yourself, right? Name, pronouns, your role in your office, and the place in Nashville that you feel students just have to check out once they get here. So we'll start with you.
All right. I'm John Bradley, pronouns he, him, his.
Yeah.
And I'm the director of the Writing Studio and Tutoring Services programs. Place that students really need to check out, I'm going to recommend Radnor Lake, which is just a little south of where Vanderbilt is in Nashville. But it is an amazing retreat. Once you're out there, if you're taking a little hike around the lake there, you would forget that you're in Nashville, and everybody needs that every now and then.
Yeah, no, and there's so many amazing places to hike around Nashville, which always shocked me when I first moved here. Because I'm like, oh, it's like in the South, but it has some cool places, and Radnor's one of them. Awesome.
Hi, my name is Brittany Baker. I'm a program coordinator in the Office of Immersion Resources. My pronouns are she, her, hers. And I would recommend for students, it's not technically in Nashville, but there's this place a little bit south, and it's called Loveless Cafe, and they have the best biscuits.
It's so good.
I stand by it.
It is so good.
I'm Molly Thompson. I work in the Office of the University Registrar as a Senior Associate University Registrar. My pronouns are she, her, hers. And I would recommend another green space is Percy Warner. Lots of great hikes out there.
Awesome.
Hey everyone, I'm Melissa Mallon. I am in the Vanderbilt Libraries. I'm the Associate University Librarian for Teaching and Learning, which means I just basically do all things student outreach and learning and engagement. Super fun. My pronouns are she, her, and my recommendation is an indoor space because it's too hot right now. But I really love the farmers market, the Nashville Farmers Market, which is down on Rosa Parks Boulevard. You can get great fruits and veggies, but then also some amazing restaurants and vendors there too.
And I love that it's not just on Saturdays, because a lot of times you farmers market, or not just Saturday, it's like one day, one night. I know it's always there.
Yeah.
That's so incredible. Well, thank you all for taking time out of your busy day to be here with us. If you could, briefly describe your office and what your team does, and why would I, as a first-year student, either need to come see you or want to come see you.
Want to come see
us. But yeah, so let's go ahead and start with that.
All right. So my office runs two different learning support programs, the Writing Studio and Tutoring Services. We are here to help you achieve your goals as writers, and thus also as thinkers and communicators. And on the other hand, to achieve your goals as undergraduate, let me read off my list here: biologists, chemists, economists, mathematicians, neuroscientists, and physicists. So both programs offer free, underline that, remember, you've already paid, it comes in with your tuition, free one-on-one learning support and group opportunities as well. So, if I say a little bit more, right, we can go more into classes later, but a number of the really heavily first year enrolled big STEM courses, chemistry, biology, calculus, are STEM tutors, and we have 25 to 30 undergraduates who work for us as peer tutors in those courses, are there as a community of support for students, stepping up, helping them achieve what they want, and what can be some really challenging courses.
I was going to say it's very important. As I've worked with first-year students, a lot of them would take advantage of chemistry and calculus. I feel like very specifically tutoring groups, so that's really helpful.
Yeah.
Thank you for that.
Oh, and sorry,
No,
one more piece in.
please,
That's only because I have the second program, the Writing Studio,
Yes.
which is for any and all writing that students are doing here. So it could be for a class for your first year writing seminar, could be for your internship application, independent research you're doing. It could eventually be for med school, law school, graduate school applications. Any writing you're doing during your time at Vanderbilt, you can come and meet with one of our undergraduate, graduate, or professional writing consultants to get an extra pair of eyes on your writing, feedback, helping unpack, understand conventions and expectations of college level writing.
Which is so important. And y'all are sometimes located in the Commons Center, right? I know y'all have a main office, but they can sometimes find you.
That's right. So we have a satellite location in the Commons Center, 217. everybody. You don't have to remember
Shameless
that. No. At room 217, we are across the parking lot, also in a building called the Curb Center Building, where our main location is. And right now, we're also offering a lot of online appointments as well. So you can come for online help or in-person help, groups, as you mentioned, lots of different ways that we're there to be a community.
So
of support.
accessible. That's
Yeah.
awesome. All right, now Brittany.
Okay, so I'm here representing the Office of Immersion Resources, and essentially this office exists to support students, faculty, and staff as they navigate the Immersion Vanderbilt graduation requirement. I think that a natural question that leads into this is, what is Immersion Vanderbilt? Immersion Vanderbilt is a high-impact experiential learning requirement that all students are required to engage with before they graduate. And when I'm meeting with students and we talk about what is Immersion Vanderbilt, then I usually tell them that it is two parts. One is an experiential learning opportunity, and when I say things like experiential learning, I'm talking about internships, study away, study abroad, research, community engagement, civic engagement, all those things that kind of take you outside of the classroom and give you that real-world learning. And then at the end of that experience, it leads you into through a series of reflecting and mentoring into a final project that you create at the end. And you have your time at Vanderbilt to complete your project. I think that we'll get more into that a little bit later, but that's just kind of a high overview of what Immersion Vanderbilt is and how Office of Immersion Resources supports that initiative.
Incredible.
So the Registrar's Office, we maintain your student record.
Very important.
Super exciting. And we also set up the systems that sort of allow you to register for classes and make sure that the classes get scheduled and that you have rooms assigned for them and all those sort of exciting things.
Really important things, right?
Yes.
Super
The
important.
school.
Yeah, important. Yeah, about the school.
And while you're always welcome to visit us, we're in the Baker Building. It's probably not, you probably don't really need to.
But I feel like most get their questions answered through advisors, and then also
Right.
you all have an incredible website with different, questions and stuff like
Well, thank you.
that. You're like, thank you, I designed it myself. No, I'm just kidding. That's awesome.
I had a lot of help.
Yeah.
So I'm here from the library, the Vanderbilt Libraries. We actually have 9 libraries in our system, 4 of which are heavily kind of undergraduate focused. So that's our music library, the Peabody Library, the Science and Engineering Library, which is open 24 hours a day, 5 days a week. So I don't recommend anybody study at 2 a.m., but if that's your jam, then the library is there for you. And then our sort of main library on campus, which is the Central Library, which is named Central because it is actually centrally located on campus. It's probably their biggest library, and we've got a lot of spaces to study. I think the main thing that I would say about our libraries, just the one thing that I want every student to know first year beyond, is that we have a librarian for every single subject area and major on campus. So if you want to do English, if you want to do neuroscience, if you want to do theater, anything your heart desires, we have a librarian dedicated to your program. So my recommendation is always within that first semester, set up a meeting. We can help with anything really, sort of like John's office with the writing studio and tutoring services. We can help get you set up with campus resources that can support your academics, but also just help you with your research projects. And also, the libraries are a great place to just hang out too. So you don't have to study, you can just meet your friends and chill.
Yeah, absolutely. That's so cool. I didn't know that we have librarians for literally any subject.
Every
That's
single
so
one.
Cool.
Yep.
Okay, so might be a little tough because I know you all have a lot of wisdom to share, but what are you thinking about starting your Vanderbilt experience? Poor John has to go first every time.
No.
If anyone wants to.
So I'm going to shoot a little higher, a little more sort of down to earth piece of advice
Okay.
first, and that is I know that the first year students are working with their advisors, right, at this point in choosing classes, and there are some combinations of classes that I know advisors often advise against, and students are often quick to dismiss some of that advice. If you're advised not to take certain combinations of classes in your first semester, I highly recommend that everybody listen. So I know that some of the big ones like calculus, general chemistry, sometimes the intro to biological sciences. If those, if students are trying to cram those all in, they're such demanding classes, and you can rise to those challenges, but it might be harder if you're trying to rise to those challenges all at once. So listen to the advice out there. I know there's, if you want to prove yourself, but make sure you're choosing wisely, and pacing yourself too.
Which is an important life lesson, period. But no, exactly. That's a really good piece of advice.
I think that my advice for first year students coming in would be to take advantage of all the resources that are around you. I think that it's fantastic that we're hosting panelists like this, and that you're kind of getting an introduction to all of the different facilities that are around you, and it's there to support you and to make that first year transition a lot easier. So don't be afraid to set up an appointment and to meet with the folks who are here to support you.
Absolutely.
And I'm going to give you a very registrar-y answer, and that would
Which
be,
is why you're here.
that would be to read your emails. So I know that you probably get a lot of emails, but we don't send them out just for funsies. So I highly recommend just making sure that you read them and understand what's going on. And if you have any questions, reach out to whoever sent it.
Because they're in the process of registering around now, right?
Right.
So, or they will be. So yes, check your emails.
So mine is, I went last, but so I'm not copying off everyone, but it's sort of a re-emphasis of what everyone has said, which is don't be afraid to ask questions. We are all here for you. Literally, we would not have our jobs if it were not for students, and I think with first years in particular, it can be really overwhelming, and there are a lot of resources. It's really hard to know, who to talk to or who to ask questions. You can contact any one of us or anyone in our offices, and we can point you in the right direction, even if it has nothing to do with what we do. We know enough about campus life that we can help kind of guide you. But, I think it can be overwhelming and scary, and no one wants to act like they don't know what's going on. But most of us don't know what's going on, so we help each other, and you don't know until you ask.
Yes, absolutely. We're filming outside. We've got new office.
Lots of activities.
I know. Okay, so the next couple of questions, they may only apply to certain panelists, but if you want to chime in, even if it's not your specific office, because I know the libraries could probably impact some of these questions, please jump in. Okay, so when it comes to registering for classes, what do I need to know? Is there something I can find? Is there somewhere I can find important information about registration? And how do I find my registration dates and times? You might have alluded to this in your last question. I know.
So we do have a lot of information about registration on our website, which is registrar.vanderbilt.edu. But I think the schools were sending out information for first-year students about when they should register. This is the third week of registration, so it will end on Friday at 11:59 p.m. And then there will be another open enrollment period that opens on July 20th. So look for information from your advisor if you've had one assigned to you. I know not all the schools have advisors assigned. And if you have other questions and don't have an advisor assigned to you, then I would reach out to your school's Office of Academic Services for advice on selecting classes. If you have specific questions about the system itself, you can feel free to reach out to our office.
And that's yes, right?
Yes.
Okay. Someone told me yes, and I was like, which stands for?
Your enrollment service.
Okay. Not to put you on the spot, but I did.
It's actually a suite of applications. So you can, there's all sorts of stuff in yes. So you want to make sure that you familiarize yourself with that.
Yeah. Thank you for that. Okay. So regarding Immersion Vanderbilt, what sorts of projects have people done for their final project? Rather, do I have to decide during my first year what I'm going to do?
Yeah, okay, so I think that I'll answer this question in the inverse. So do you have to decide in your first year what you want to do for your Immersion Vanderbilt project? The answer to that is no. So our office, like I was saying earlier in the panel, is here to support you as you navigate what your Immersion Vanderbilt is going to mean for you. So my advice to first year students as they're coming into the institution is to always schedule an advising appointment with someone in the Office of Immersion Resources, so we can talk to you about what this is going to mean for you, what kind of brainstorming you might want to do, that like your passions, what kind of project is going to help set you up for your next step beyond Vanderbilt, right? So these are the things that we're here to do. Your first technical milestone for Immersion Vanderbilt isn't until your second year. But it is never too early to get advising, and it's never too early to start either. That's the whole reason why we like to talk with first-year students when they come into Vanderbilt. Examples of students who have done incredible projects. So this past spring, one of my favorite ones that has been submitted so far. was about a student who was analyzing the cultural impacts of soccer, and not just a personal identity, but a community. And so they created a website that highlighted not only personal interviews that they conducted with folks who represented local soccer teams, reporters in their region, but also a short documentary that they filmed highlighting their amateur soccer players in their community. And so it was really it was twofold. It was this documentary and it was a website combined together as their final Immersion Vanderbilt project. Highly immersive, highly impactful, and it really meant something to the student because it was a representation of who they were beyond the student that they were at Vanderbilt.
That is incredible. I'm excited. And Immersion Vanderbilt, y'all have just finished y'all's first, like, they've graduated, or is that coming as far as, like, projects?
Yeah, so this past class that graduated had the option to continue Immersion Vanderbilt, but we had an overwhelming success with these students, submitting their final projects, so it was really great. And then this next graduating class, 23, is the first full cohort to submit their final project.
So next year your office will have a ton of examples.
Yeah.
That's really fun.
Yeah, we had a lot of examples. That was at the top of my mind at the time. That's one of my favorite ones. It's really cool, really immersive. That's terrific.
Well, and real quick, before we ask some of these other offices, what steps, kind of hinted at it, should I take as a first-year student regarding immersion to, maybe not make it as stressful my second year? What would y'all recommend doing during your first year?
I feel like I should console anybody who's watching. This is not a stressful moment. We love advising students, and so definitely set up that appointment, set that advising appointment, meet with one of us, talk one-on-one. We like to learn about who you are, so that way we can help pinpoint you to different access points and resources across the university. So if you say that you love writing, then we're going to direct you to the writing studio. Or if you say that you want to do specific research on a pinpoint topic, we're going to pinpoint you to that specific librarian to help kind of compile the project that you want to begin with. So meet with us, talk with us. Again, the first milestone for your Immersion Vanderbilt isn't until your sophomore year, but meet with us, take that advising appointment, and also I'm going to also mirror what one of the other panelists said, but read those emails. So every Sunday, we send out a newsletter to all students across campus, and we highlight different opportunities for students to engage with for the experiential learning component of their Immersion Vanderbilt project. We also highlight other campus opportunities and networking for you to engage with that other offices are hosting throughout the university. So definitely check out that newsletter every single Sunday.
All right, done putting Brittany on the spot. So, and you kind of answered this, but I'd love to elaborate. Do all classes have tutoring options? And then where would I go once I have my schedule? I figured out maybe I need help with this or that. Where would I go to learn about all of the resources so I can access, tutoring, the writing studio?
Yeah. So let me say the easy part first, and that is where you can go to learn more. So the websites for the two different programs should be pretty easy to remember. One is vanderbilt.edu/tutoring for the Tutoring Services program. That's the STEM tutoring. The second is for the writing studio, and that's just vanderbilt.edu/writing. Both of those, if you remember those, get there, you can find out everything you need to know about both programs, how to make an appointment, where we are, and find some additional resources as well. So that's where you can go find more. Then the short answer to the other question, which was, do all classes have tutoring options, is for better or for worse, no. But let me put it this way. Every single class that you're in, right, your professor, and if you have a teaching assistant in a bigger class, will have office hours, right? And whether we're talking about writing studio or tutoring services, we are almost always going to be pointing you to your professor's office hours because that's what they're there for, right? If you don't know this already, right, office hours on a college campus exist for students to have interactions with, students to have interactions with their professor, teaching assistant, with their instructor, either one-on-one or right in small groups. And that is often going to be your very best way to get some individualized attention, right? Get your questions answered. And among the advice earlier was, right, don't be afraid to ask questions. There are lots of other people that you can ask questions of too. But when it comes to classes, we absolutely know nothing replaces that engagement with direct engagement with your instructor.
Absolutely.
So.
And they want you to come. I mean, they have the office hours for that reason. So I think that's a really good piece of advice.
If I go on a little bit further,
Yeah,
right?
come
So
on. I love it. I love it, John.
yeah, sorry. I warned my colleagues that I can go on a little bit long, but tutoring services specifically, and I listed this off somewhat before, right? We offer tutoring support. We have our 25 to 30 undergrads, mostly, who offer support in chemistry, general, and organic. Biological sciences, mostly at the intro level, but also biochemistry, which is one of the really tough ones that comes later in the sequence. Mathematics, so mostly in the calculus, single variable, multivariable, but some on the line as well. Economics, neuroscience, and physics as well. You can find all the courses and specifics on our website, vanderbilt.edu/tutoring. There are other tutoring programs on campus, so I'm sitting here representing tutoring. The School of Engineering has a tutoring program. On our website, there's an additional campus resources link. There's lots of other places you can find it as well, but they cover some classes we don't, like computer science and a number of engineering courses. So good to know. And in fact, you can go to both for chemistry and I think biology as well. There's foreign language tutoring through the Center for Second Language Studies. And so we're not the only place on campus where you can get tutoring. Those will broaden the options a little bit. If I speak very briefly to the writing studio,
Okay.
again, like I said, any writing you're doing on campus, so any class, right, you can bring the writing to us. And as I mentioned before, it doesn't have to be for a class either. So the writing studio is a little bit more open in that way. Of course, we're always going to be wanting to see the assignment and talk to you about what your professor said in class, how you discussed it, that sort of thing. Help you understand, right, how it fits into that specific class. But yeah, any writing can be brought to the writing studio at any stage. So you don't have to have a draft. You can brainstorm.
That's awesome. Well, thank you for that. Really cleared things up. And I think if you guys do have additional questions, obviously, like you said, to go to the website. We also have this thing called the Hub. If you go to vu.edu/class of 2026, which is y'all's kind of central point, you go down to the bottom, you go to the Hub, which I think all of these offices are represented in some way there. So it's kind of just a resource pool, if you will. Okay, only 2 more questions, and then we are wrapping up. So, what resources does the Vanderbilt Library have that I may need to utilize during my first year? And any tips for navigating the libraries without getting overwhelmed? Because you said there are multiple, and that would get overwhelming.
That's a great question. So I think I mentioned this earlier, but definitely our librarians. And so they're really the key to helping you not be overwhelmed. So we've got, I can't remember what the website is, but just search Vanderbilt Libraries and you'll find it. But it has basically all of the information that you could possibly want there, but there's a lot. So my recommendation is if you're starting out with research or you've got a paper that you have to write for an assignment, something like that, find a librarian to meet with. If you don't know who to meet with, there's an Ask a Librarian button on every single library webpage. Click there, we will help find you the right person to meet with. And so we can help you navigate like looking for books and ebooks, journal articles. The one thing that I think not everyone knows is that a great majority of our materials are available digitally. So yes, you can come to the library and check out books. We've got a lot of them, but in your first year, I would say the majority of things you need for your research will probably be online. So you can access that 24/7 from your residence hall, or if you're at home, doing a paper over fall break or whatever. Although hopefully you take a little bit of a break, but the library is there just in case. So I think really the best advice is to start with the librarian, and then we can help you kind of navigate through the website and really target in on the areas that are most specific to what you need for that particular assignment or research project that you're working on.
That's awesome. Okay, last question. I'd love for all of you to kind of chime in on this. What advice would you give to first-year students to help them succeed in the classroom? Because we're students first. Obviously, we want them to have fun, find their community. But what advice would you all give so that they can succeed in that arena?
Yeah, so here's where I said I was going to try to go a little philosophical on this one. I'm going to go for the Vanderbilt motto here, and that's dare to grow, right? I know Dean Melissa Grisolfi has said, that a panel I've been on before, that learning is fundamentally a disruption, right? Like it jostles us out of our comfort zone and where we are, right? And yet that's our space in which we grow. And classes are going to do that too, right? So dare to grow, but also to realize that when we're growing, when we're learning, we do it best in community, right? That it's not a solo activity, and therefore that ask a question, the other advice that came out earlier, right? Realize that there's a community of support from all of our offices and so many more. There's so many individuals who are here and want to support everyone out there listening today. And I hope that they will think of themselves when they're asking those questions, when they're engaging with others, right? Daring to grow in that way too, outside their comfort zone, that they'll be thinking about it as tapping into a community that's there for them and not doing something just because they need help or something like that, right? That they belong here, they belong in the community that wants to support them. So that's my advice in the classroom.
That's
right?
a good piece of
And
advice
succeeding.
for anyone, but
Yeah.
yes, definitely for in the classroom. I'm inspired. Yeah.
How do you follow that? So, yeah, it's embarrassing for me. No, I think, I'm thinking back on long ago, but not yet so long ago when I was starting my undergraduate journey. And it sounds a little silly, but don't underestimate the value of note-taking and preparing for your class before you get in there. And a lot of times content moves very quickly, and so taking that extra hour or two to prepare for your class before you even step inside that classroom is instrumental to your performance down the line.
Well, I'm going to steal his answer from earlier and say go to office hours and speak to your instructors and your TAs, and also utilize all the resources that you have, including the libraries and Immersion Center and tutoring and writing studio. We are here to help you succeed, and so just take advantage of the people that are here.
I'm going to go a little rogue with my answer.
I love it.
And say to not let your learning just be in the classroom, to think about all of the amazing experiences there are in Nashville, in our community, to engage with people that are from different backgrounds or maybe have different perspectives than you. There's so many opportunities to grow as a human when you're here at Vanderbilt, and that doesn't, the seeds are set, I think, in the classroom, and then just taking what you learn out beyond, whether it's in your activities or at your residence halls or going to farmers market, whatever it is, just to kind of think about that experience of being somewhere new and how that can help you grow.
Well, that was really good advice. I don't know where y'all were when I was going to college, but thank you for taking time out of your busy days to be a part of this, and thank you all for those who tuned in and those who watched later. But until next week, my name is, again, Emily Waddell, and this is The More You Know. Thank you for tuning in, and thanks for being a part. Bye, y'all.